Yo, what up? It's Datwon Thomas, editor-in-chief of Vibe Magazine, and right now you locked into Talkin Magazine. I hope y'all checked out the interview. It was super dope. I love y'all. Keep supporting. One love.
Hi, this is Irovia, also known as Jim in the industry. We're here at Billboard, so excited to interview Datwon Thomas from Vibe Magazine. Stay tuned to the interview.
Started the freshman, left there, went with Russell Simmons, ran Global Grind, left there, went back to Vibe, left Vibe, went to Ozzy, was running Respect Magazine at the same time, came back to Vibe, and been here since 2015. So when I think about my run, and that's just like the short version, when I think about the run and all the things that I've learned throughout that time, I've learned to depend on myself. You know, like during all those runs, you know, your confidence level could go up and down because you're a creative, and you're basically as hot as the last thing that you did or the projects that you are connected to. So I always wanted to have like a high level of dopeness, and I always felt like if I'm a part of it, then it's already at a certain level of dopeness because I'm a part of it. But now I got to show and prove, and just being super candid, like there'll be times where, like a couple of times in my career, I had like writer's block, or I don't know if it's called creative block or whatever. But I've gone through that recently, and it's just like, man, I don't know if this is dope or not. Like, cause there's so many ideas that you want to do. If you can't execute it the way that you want, sometimes you think it's whack. Rather than just executing it and tweaking it, you just won't do it. Just be like, all right, I don't have this or I don't have that. And what I had to do was go back when I didn't have anything, and you found ways on conquering not having what you deem you need. And a lot of times people think it's money, and I always preach that you don't necessarily need the money, you just need ingenuity. You need to be able to think around the money issue. What would you do if you had all the money and you still couldn't do it for some reason? So money's not the issue, it's something else that you gotta solve. So it's really about making sure that your mind is wired where not only you have the confidence, but you have the determination. Because confidence can make you do some whack shit. You think you confident in some whack shit. That's not cool.
Yeah, no.
You know, being able to look back and saying, I look back at some of the stuff we did in King, and I'm like, damn, man, why didn't I see this? I could have did da-da-da. But my experience level wasn't all the way there yet. Even though it's dope, I could have made it doper. Or like now, I see where I could have made things doper. I was telling you about that calendar earlier. Yo, throughout the whole calendar, we don't have the girls' names. We didn't even have their names in there. I was like, how did that happen? Who let that go? Me? I was like, we don't even have their names in here. I'm just looking at this like, this is like 12 years later. I went up in the attic and got it. I was like, how we not have their names? We tell them to go to the website. No, what if nobody's gonna go to the website? It's here, do that. We didn't actually make the days right. Like the days are there, but nobody can write on it or. And I know you might not want to write on the girl booty or whatever, but I'm just saying.
You might want to tat that up.
You might want to tat it up a little bit. You know, it's my birthday. My birthday laying right on the top.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? But it was just like little things that I know now that I would do different. And when I do projects now, I try to analyze it with that eye. You know, I just want it to be like a certain level of dopeness.
So one of the publications that you had mentioned when you went through your 10-year stint in publication was Respect. And,
yes.
We have a pleasure of sitting with you right now because we're here to speak about Nipsey.
Yes.
You know, so I was told that you also have worked on the Respect publication with him.
It was one of those things where I saw him early. You know, like I saw his talent early, and you know, I used to always just put him in that box with like Snoop. I used to be like, oh, he looked like Snoop, he sounded like Snoop, he a Crip like Snoop. You know what I mean? So I put him in that box, and as I started to hear more about him, I saw the moves he was making outside of hip hop, and I always looked at him. This is me. I always looked at him more of a businessman than as a rapper. I used to think like, oh, he taking a break rapping. You know what I mean? And as his legend started to grow, I was like, he's one of the few guys that was doing it independent after having a major deal. And there was a couple of guys like that, and one in particular was Yo Gotti at the time. Because Yo Gotti was on the label, and then he got dropped, and he still had his independent situation. So I came up with the idea of making like the New Jack Hustlers. And I put Nipsey and Yo Gotti on the cover of Respect together. And I sat with them to talk about business and what having like a street life business mentality meant into coming into the music life and endorsement kind of business is, and you know what things outweigh the other, how some skills from the street transfer over into corporate, how corporate makes you a better thinker and stuff like that. And I can't front, man, Nipsey put on a clinic on like how you marry not only just what you learn from the street, but your spiritualness and what you read and all that stuff. So now that, you know, he's passed, God bless his soul, and we hear these things about what he's done and all these things he incorporated into his life and his mentality so much after all these interviews and stuff, you realize like he was one of those very rare people that was able to take his life experiences and blend it with spirituality. And when you do that, you elevate mentally, you elevate physically, and then your energy emanates to everyone else. It just goes out and it grabs people, and people feel that vibration and frequency and all that stuff. And you can hear it when his moms talk. When his moms talk, it's like a calming thing because they're in tune with their spirit.
Yes.
And sometimes that spirit is just too powerful. And I felt that. I felt it talking to him. I felt that with the sit down. You feel it in his music. You feel it in his passing, how everyone's been affected by it that didn't even listen to his music. Not only didn't they listen to his music, they didn't listen to hip hop and were affected by it. And not just because of the violent nature by which he was cut down. It was more so like the way that everyone collectively grieved, but it was in this way of elevation for him, you know. And I have to say, it's not that many people in the entertainment world that I think have done even more than he's done creatively that'll get a send off like that, or that'll be felt like that, because it's a different kind of energy. And we have to acknowledge that. We have to acknowledge people that come into our lives that are that important and have that kind of impact.
Do you feel like, well, working in the industry and being of the genre we grew up hip hop wise, when we lost the tragedy of Pac and Big, you would think that if Nipsey Hussle's 10 years in the industry and him becoming what we would consider a one-hit wonder with Victory Lap, right now, the children now, he would have been a part of their upbringing, right? Do you think that because of who he was as a man, our generation suffered again? As opposed to the genre of children that are listening to his music now? Because I feel like that's why his passing has been so deep, because we felt a grown man pass.
Yeah.
You know, in the music, he's beginning, but we felt the growth of a man pass away.
Yeah.
And do you feel that same way?
I would say it like this. It's so wild when we put the parameters of time around it. We had Pac from 91 to 96. It's what, 5 years? We had Big from 92 to 97. You know, what's that, 5 or 6 years? You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't realize how much they packed in that short amount of time to impact a generation, and we feel like this huge loss when they were gone. Nipsey was around for 10 solid years. You know, 09, I think 2010, he might have been freshman. He was on the freshman cover of Double XL.